In this video, I sit down with Armand, the founder and owner of Sartory Billard, a brand I think provides some of the best value for money in watchmaking. We talk about the brand and have a relaxed chat about watches. He also goes into some technical aspects of watchmaking for the geeks out there. Please use chapters to listen to the topics you're interested in. Grab a coffee, sit back, and enjoy. Hello and welcome to a special episode of Talking Clock. Today we're sitting down with Armand, who founded Sartory Billard in 2015. I actually have a customized SP05 from him, which I've reviewed previously. First of all, thanks for coming on, and it's great to finally meet you. How are you liking Singapore so far?
Thank you very much for the invitation. Singapore is fantastic. I had the pleasure this morning, thanks to you, to have a little bit of a sightseeing around. We drove from Sentosa to downtown. The people are absolutely welcoming. The fair, Singapore Watch Fair, is great, and engagement and I don't know, the welcoming from watch collectors and enthusiasts here is incredible. So I'm really enjoying my time.
Awesome, good to hear. I think the first topic I kind of want to start out with is more personal curiosity and just to look at, I think, the history of the brand. So I think I was reading online that your background is an industrial designer. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
So I'm curious, starting out the company, and I think many people online, they would be more familiar with the SP04, the 05, which I think became a lot more popular. But I was looking at a SGX article, and actually the 01, 02, and 03 are actually, in my opinion, very nice designs as well, especially with the case shapes and that sort of thing. Can you just detail your journey of, starting the company, going through the first three projects? What were the main challenges and what are, the sort of main things that you learned during that time?
So during the first years of the brand, with the SB01 and SB02 and 03, so that was much more myself creating shape watch with different case design, and I still expressed myself as a designer like a whole set within the watch. I would design the case, the dial, and everything, and create one type of each design for only one style, I would say, for every series. And then I was presenting the SB03 during Basel in 2018, and I did 5 or 6 different dials, and this is where I understood that customers, in my case, for my brand, would be much more interested in the art and in the craft that I would put into the dial, and that the case design had to be simplified. Because I think if you are making the two design, let's separate the case and also the dial, if you are going a little bit too extreme on these 2 points, the watch will be a little bit too much. So from the SB04, I decided to have like standard, like even if they are really well worked and complex in detailing, round shaped cases, so I can express all the creativity of the customers through the dials. And I think that was the good choice to make.
Out of pure personal curiosity, do you think you'll ever go back to like playing around with more complex case shapes, or is that something that you don't think so much?
I think it will come back. That there is one point in now it's growing up on me. There is like all the routes that I want to take. So the first route with the SB04, 05, and 07 were to create watches with simple, more round, on like standard cases, work a lot on the dials. Then we had the opportunity to work on more higher-end movement. So now we're also exploring the high horology movement side, which is very, very interesting. But there is one point I will probably like work on the shape of a case that is unusual or very much specific, and also mix it with the possibilities of bespoke and higher hand movement. But I think it's taking time. When you're creating a brand, it takes years to be recognized, especially when you're doing something as specific and unique as bespoke. It's a very small amount of watches that are produced per year, like 150, 200 watches. It's barely nothing in volume. So it takes time to to get into the eye of the collectors, that they understand how different and why Sartory Billard is doing bespoke, because it's mainly a matter of why do you deserve a bespoke watch? It's because like everybody has to understand at one point that the uniqueness of their style or their personal aesthetic can find a very nice echo into the watchmaking. So it's a long journey.
Yeah, I think the opportunity to create a sort of like unique watch in your image is, a great opportunity, especially at this price point. Of course, I think the people like Kari do it, but it's like drastically more expensive and a very long, waiting time now. So I wanted to ask, how is the experience like? Because I think for many people, most collectors would be used to walking into a boutique, whatever is on display, like a Rolex or something, and just like picking, maybe different bezel color or something like that. But when it comes to like creating your own watch, it's a very different experience, especially since you provide so many options for customization. For people, obviously I've gone through this before, but for people, who are looking to get a watch but are not sure where to start or not sure what, it will involve, can you sort of describe how the experience is of getting a Sartory Billard watch?
Yes, of course. So my absolutely deep, I'm absolutely convinced that everybody is creative. And so everybody has a favorite style regarding colors or type of stone or type of guilloche that they would like to have in a watch. So this will be always the entry door of having a design talk. People would come to me and say, oh, I have a collection of this and this and this, but I like lemon color, like lemon green color, and I can't find a watch that is nice having this color. Or I really like lapis lazuli stone. I want something with mother of pearl because I want a painting of something special. So they will come with an idea that will just be like the little line that we will follow during the design process. And depending on which model the customer is interested into, SB04S 30mm, SB0440, SB0740, SB05 38.5, etc. So I will take all the canvas of the watches with the case and hands design, and I will make some renderings, basically, let's say Photoshop's version of how the watch is going to look. And it can take like an average probably like 20 different iterations. Customer will come and say, oh, I really like titanium guilloche with blue color. And I'm interested also in Arabic numerals. I would like to see how it goes. And then we will go one step after the other, refine. I will propose as many Photoshop variation as possible. And there is one moment like you will see on your WhatsApp or computer screen a watch and say, oh, this is the one I had in my mind. I was unable to draw it, to design it, because like it's not my job anyway. But this is the vision I had. So now that it's in front of your eyes, so I will start the process of making the watch. This design phase can take anywhere from a couple of days to 2 months. It takes the time it has to take. It's just depending on how mature is the customer, on how he knows the design that he wants. So it takes the time that it must take, and then we are proceeding with the making of the watch.
I think, yeah, it was a very interesting experience for me, because at first I was a bit hesitant to get a watch, because I was thinking, okay, if I ever get a piece unique or, something I can design myself, I want to have like a grand idea, like a theme that I want to go with. And I think maybe mine would have been, I'm sure, one of the watches that took the least renders. I think I took maybe like 3 renders total.
Probably, maybe.
In like 1-2 hours. I was just choosing like things that I didn't have in my collection at the time. So aventurine, lapis, and titanium guilloche, which I think you're very unique for. My question is then, since you do offer literally everything under the sun, from stone dials, our friend here did silicon wafers, painted dials, Do you have any advice for people who are, maybe struggling to choose something or, struggling to like start like an idea in the first place?
I think there is two ways to do it. Either work something that you are comfortable with, like it's taking less of a risk. For example, I love blue faces dial, like blue dials, etc. So I would start with a blue that I have, but like if you like blue, choosing blue would be like on the safe side. And maybe you can take a little bit of a more adventurous side if you probably said, like, I want a meteorite dial, but I want it blue. So you're taking half a risk, half a safe side. So this is a way. And if you are more mature, or if you had the chance to own like multiple watches, and you can also say, I'm lacking this color, I'm lacking this theme in my collection, and then like go and work on this. I had like a customer in Middle East that only makes like very, very colorful watches, because it's always the thing is he comes and say, I don't have this specific, like, I don't know, pink tone, because I don't find male watches with pink. So this is the goal. We are going to work on the pink. So it's taking a risk, but to fill a hole in the collection.
Okay. I think with the customer experience aside, can we just like briefly talk on what things are coming up or the new sort of products? I think starting with the 07 for one, which is the first sports watch, right?
Yes,
correct?
That is correct. So just released like the SB07. This is the sports watch from the brand. It's 40 millimeter case with that is water resistant up to 100 meter. It comes with a metal bracelet or rubber bracelet that we make with the Singapore firm Deluxe. Of course, this is fully bespoke, like dies. You can choose a lot of type of dies. It has the same sapphire ring like the SB05, where you can pick indexes, etc. With the difference that now we improve on the process, and the numbers and the minute track are Loom. So this is a different supplier that we're working with, and I believe it's the first real bespoke sports watch. It hasn't been done really before, I guess. Usually sports watches go in very neutral tone or metal type of dial with blue or gray or sometimes green or a little bit of red. But here you can have like I don't know, like a lapis dial or mother of pearl dial for on sports watch. We also have the SB04S, that is a smaller version from the classic SB04. So the 4S is 37 millimeter in diameter. And if you count, so there is the SB04, 5, and 7, and there is like a hole that we are like filling up in the next weeks, which is the SB06, that is a flying tourbillon. It's coming in, and it's going to be presented officially around end of November, earlier December. So very excited about this. A flying tourbillon that is a manufactured movement with a sapphire bridge, very big flying tourbillon on the front side of the watch, like 14 millimeters. The DNA design is in the SB05 vein, and it comes in a 41 millimeter case for 10 millimeter thickness.
Wow, that's a very good case size. Then I think the latest news that some might have seen on Instagram and on social media is, of course, 08, which yes. I believe is in collaboration with Revolution.
It's less than a collaboration. Than Revolution is following the project. That is correct. No, that is absolutely correct. So in this way, this is like a long-term project. But it's a project that we absolutely self-found, and it's not like a watch that is made with Revolution. But when we presented, actually the genesis is this. Like 2 years ago, I was having an interview with Waco, and I was saying that one of my dreams was to do jumping minute watch one day. Fast forward 2 years. A few months ago, I published on Instagram an image of just a simple sketch of a round face watch with a window with numbers inside. it's obviously like a jumping hour, jumping minute, and I say, anybody can help, I want to make this. We have a movement developer that contacted us and convinced us to work with him. His name Mathieu Cléguer. And then when we talked about this project again to Revolution, we finally 2 years after we're going to do this, they said like, you're crazy, because it's a very difficult project, and to show how crazy you are, we're going to document this project along the way.
Okay.
So they're just following it. So during the first article we released 3 weeks ago, we showed like how the movement is going to be made, how it's looking. So the two barrels, the remontoir d'égalité, and the flying tourbillon on the backside. In the next 2 articles, we will present the evolution of the movement, the prototype, and the design of the watch. Like, it's a very, very ambitious project, because on the market you have only the IWC 150th anniversary, that is the jumping hour, jumping minute, and you have the Eilange and Sonne Zeitwerk. And these are major brands, like they have like unlimited funds to make this. We are on the budget, we are on the mission to make something, and hopefully it will work. But it's going to be as interesting that it is crazy.
No, very excited for the future of the brand. It's come a long way from time-only watches. So I guess we'll move on to the sort of second part of the podcast, where I thought it would be nice to just have a more relaxed talk about, watches in general. So I guess the very basic question, how did you get into, I guess, watches in the first place? And, what sort of watches interest you nowadays?
It's so I got into watches in 2004 when I was walking on the Champs-Élysées, and I stopped by the Cartier boutique and discovered the Cartier Santos 100.
Okay.
That was the re-edition for 2004, and I just fell in love with the watch. I didn't know anything about watchmaking, anything about watch. I even didn't know how it works. But I absolutely fell in love with the design, and I bought the watch a couple of weeks after seeing it. This was the very beginning of a very humble collecting journey, but I got to collect only watches that are very cheap in prices, because my funds were very limited. But they all have a common point, is that the face of the watch or the design of the watch was really appealing and unusual. So I don't own any diverse style watch or like field watches, because I personally don't have interest in this. I, for example, own a watch that is from an Armenian brand that is a branch from Frank Muller that is made in Armenia. I don't know if the watch brand exists still. I think it was IWA or CWA, something like this. But like shaped case, complex dial or unusual dials. And it led until 2015 when I had a design agency, and I had a friend, or I still have a friend, that is called Ludovic Sartory. And he would say, this is on, like, we are celebrating like respectful at the same time, most like few months apart, like our 40th anniversary birthday, and say, like, instead asking our wives to buy a watch or something like this, let's do a watch together. Mm-hmm. And so, because I was a designer, I had my design agency that was sort of easy to pull some strings, to have prototypes and make the design myself, of course.
I see.
So we made the brand, because in France it's actually quite easy to create a company and to have the benefits of owning a company to I don't know, buy gears and make a prototype. So his name is Mr. Sartory, I'm Mr. Billard, so it became like Sartory Billard brand. Now Ludovic has left the brand after a couple of years because he's in computer things. I'm just the owner of the brand, but it kept the name Sartory Billard.
No, very nice. So I guess generally you've never been someone who's so interested in like the movement or complication sort of side of thing, but more like design focus, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
It's coming like probably the opposite way. I guess most watchmakers get into movements, because this is the study of being a watchmaker. You're working on a movement, you're learning how to make it, fix it. So you're getting into this profession or into this industry by the technical side of the movement,
right.
And then eventually you start to make nice looking dials, nice looking watch, and you create something. I got totally the opposite. I entered the watchmaking world by getting only interested into the watch phase, about how good looking is a watch. And now that I feel a little bit more secure or knowledgeable on this part of the watch industry, I'm getting into the movement. But
I see.
I think it's a chance, because I'm getting into the movement side of the watch industry with an aesthetic eye. So it has to work, but it has to be very nice looking, appealing, and also allowing some decoration and finishing opportunities on the movement side.
Okay. Out of curiosity then, I think over the past 1-2 years, especially after demand in watches sort of really picked up, I think watch brands have released a lot of watches over the past 2 years or past 2-3 years. Have there been any specific watches that have come out where, you look at it and it's like, wow, that is, something special?
I pretty much only looking at independent work.
Yep.
So yes, I see that the creativity and the quality has ramped up like crazy. I'm always fascinated by brands like De Bethune, Grobel Forcer, Romain Gauthier, Laurent Ferrier, because I found their finishes and they have a very personal and delicate expression in the design. So these are the watches that I'm really looking at and appreciate, and I feel that they are doing an amazing work. And on the other side, I see a lot of watchmakers that it's great that they are like amazing, offering new watches, etc. But sometimes I have a personal difficulty to identify the design, because they tend to all look alike,
Right.
Like I would make like a visual description and you can get at least 5 or 6 different brands. Like
Yes.
It's a small dial on the top of the like a smaller dial on the top of the face of the watch, and the balancier, the balance spring will be also on the face side of the dial, and you have like a couple of gears going around, and so I found that they're all a little bit looking the same, and always the technical execution is always absolutely superb. The watches are absolutely great, but it lacks a little bit of uniqueness or personal touch. It's okay. The two ways I really like brands that have their own personal touch. That's the one I said before.
Okay, interesting. Then I usually ask collectors like this fun sort of what if question, and I thought it'd be interesting to give it to you as well. So let's say hypothetically I give you unlimited money. You have to create a 3-watch collection, but I guess for now, you can't choose your own watches. A 3-watch collection, you can't sell any of the watches, and you can't create a sort of crazy piece unique that doesn't exist. So what 3 watches would you have in your sort of dream non-personal like watch collection?
You mean like buying some watches that are already created
Yes,
and get
correct.
them? So the first one I would go for a Deep Space Tourbillon from Vienne Alter, like 100% sure. This is the watch that hooked me into the industry back in 2015 when I first discovered this watch. It's a nice story. So at this time there were like a watch exhibit in the Louvre, in the museum in Paris, in the museum area in Paris, that was called Le Carrousel du Louvre, belle montre, nice watches. And there were like this stand with the Deep Space Tourbillon, and I was looking at the watch like absolutely mesmerized. Then I was talking with the guy, with someone, a man like 40 years old, and we talked about the watch. And at the end I said like, this is crazy, but who is making this? And the guy said, it's me. So I was talking for 15 or 20 minutes with Vienne Alter, and since then we are like business relation. So I absolutely love this one. I guess I would go for a Betune Stradivarius because
25.
it emphasizes everything that I love into the brand, the polished titanium, which I do a lot also, but they do it at a level that is crazy because I know how difficult it is to make, and they make it like multiple times better than I do.
Oh wow!
And actually, I think that I do this polished titanium dial quite well, actually, I would say. But the level there, it's really, really impressed. Like, I hope that one day in my life I will have the pleasure to talk with Denis Flageolet and about just like the techniques, like not getting any secrets, but just because it's so difficult that I know probably more than anybody else, like how difficult it is to make. So I would go absolutely for this watch.
Wait, before we move on to the last one,
yes.
I think to me that's quite interesting. I think just for like a layman who doesn't know anything, can you sort of describe what exactly is the difficulty in heat bluing or heat coloring titanium?
The first difficulty is to polish the titanium in the most impeccable way, because if you get, like, for example, polishing steel is quite easy because if you want to polish, you just remove material from a very large grain. So like a file, for example, and then like a big sandpaper, and then you go to finer and finer and finer sandpapers, and probably you will finish with diamond paste liquid. And every time you will work on steel, you will remove like particles of steel, and that will go to a polish. With titanium, it's completely different. At the beginning of the process with titanium, you remove the material, like with heavy grain sandpaper, but there is one stage in the polishing of titanium that you don't really remove titanium, but you just move away the titanium in different place. It would be like if you're making a dough for a cake, you would try to polish like this.
Okay.
So there is a moment you're just displacing the metal. And this make it absolutely difficult because, like, if you're displacing the metal in the extreme level of polishing and you get it wrong or you apply too much pressure or something, you just like tear off metal. You will just rip off parts and this is done. You can trash the part away. So the polishing is extremely difficult because it's extremely difficult to get like absolutely flat parts and perfectly polished way, and then you have the oxidation of the titanium. There are different techniques, like two actually. There is one, the heat-treated, the heat that will create the oxide layer on top of titanium, or there is a chemical way to also create the oxide layer. Both are absolutely fantastically good. The effect is the same, is to create an oxide layer on top of the titanium, and the light that will come through with all the length wave of the sun, like light emission, some will get absorbed by this oxide layer and some will get out of the metal. So it's like a rainbow. When you see the 7 colors in the sky of a rainbow, nobody put pigment in the sky. It's just that the light is diffracted through the water, and your retina perceive like 7 different length wave, and you have on your retina the perception of 7 colors. And it's the same with the titanium. There is no pigment on the titanium. There is a layer that absorbs a certain length wave of the natural light, and your retina will perceive a tone. So it will perceive a blue color. It will perceive like a gold or a purple color. So this is why it's very interesting, very vibrant, very like it's an amazing color. Like it's something that is really unusual, and I really feel the difficulty of achieving the level of polishing and quality that they are putting into this.
Then, since Gauthier titanium is something I think is kind of your specialty,
yes.
From experience, is Gauthier titanium or heated Gauthier titanium easier or just like polished? Or is there like a difference in difficulty?
It's a difference of difficulty because if you want to guilloche titanium, you need to have the good CNC, the good program, the good knowledge how to make it.
Okay.
You should not hit the titanium with the friction of the cut like too much to alter the titanium, so you would have difficulty to make it blue, to oxide it. So this is one more technical difficulty because you give pretty much all the part of the CNC to the responsibility of the machine and then to the operator who is programming the machine. When you're doing polishing of titanium, you're giving the responsibility just to your tip of your fingers when you're having the piece on your finger and you're polishing it. You can't describe the recipe. I've been doing hundreds, if not thousands, of polishing dial to have sometimes the ratio of bad dial to good dial is probably 1 to 10.
Oh wow!
So I probably made like 100 watches in polished titanium. So it's not stupid to say that probably I started to polish 1,000. That would be reasonable. And there is a moment that you can't even describe, but you know that you're just before the good point, you're on the good point, or you pass this point and you can trash the dial. It's just something that you see. I can describe it like if I know that when I over polish a dial, I can feel, but I can even see like a cloud, something in the titanium. I don't know how to express it, how to describe it better, but I will know by the end that I see something in the reflection of the dial and I say, okay, that's so trash. So it's polishing titanium is extremely difficult if you're making a die. Polishing a case is relatively easy because you have like few millimeters of metal, so you can apply, you can push, you can do something. You have like a big chunk of metal. Yeah. A dial is like 0.3, 0.5 millimeter thick, so it's absolutely not the same game.
Okay. Sorry, got a bit off topic there because I was very curious since, I have a DB as well. So final watch, what would you choose as the third watch?
Probably Romain Gauthier. We had to talk driving here in the car. The level of finishing on the logical wine is insane. And I heard a very, very interesting interview of Romain Gauthier. And I respect a lot his work for that. He says like he loves technology and he loves machine.
Yes.
It doesn't. Some watchmakers are saying, "Oh, I do everything by hand." But if it's not as good as a machine, maybe hand is not the good solution. I'm sorry. I've seen watches entirely made by hand, looking absolutely awful. So and for me, this is not the point. You have to make a beautiful object. You have to make craft and art. So if the machine is the best way to achieve the best result and to have the best looking watch,
yes.
I think you should really embrace the way Romain Gauthier is saying is pushing his machine to extreme and have them done the best work, and then the hand comes just for the final touch, all the detailing, polishing that the machine cannot do, but the base that has been done by the machine is perfect. It's a story among watchmakers that some guys bought exactly the same machine that they knew Romain Gauthier was owning, but they could never do anything close to him, because you can have exactly the same gear, but if you don't know how to, I see here a piano there. In your living room, there is a beautiful, like straight wall piano. I guess in my house, it would be just a decoration. And if you do play piano yourself, you can probably do something amazing with this piece of wood and strings and ivory. And I can't. So Romain Gauthier is using tool to an extreme and then hands. So.
To learn more about Sartory Billard, check out his Instagram page or website. Thank you for watching.